So it's new bike day for the first time in many years for me. I've gone with the giant TCR Advanced Pro Zero, I think it's called. I didn't look too much at the details of what it's called, but it was more about the overall package. So just under 6.5 Australian. I now have myself Ultegra Di2, a frame which fits me a little better. I'm up a hill at the moment, so I'm puffing. A frame that fits me a little better than the old TCR, which had a massive head stem on it, or a massive, the frontal area, which is way too big. So this one's back to almost the same geometry as my S-Works Tarmac, which I couldn't really justify the price of one of those new with disc. So now running disc, Di2, new bike, new everything, and a new chain is as good as a new bike as well. So everything brand new except the saddle. So I'm about 12 k's into my first ride. I am super happy with it. We have 36 centimeter bars on, which I love, but I've just got to get the angles of the hoods right and the bars. So that's the only thing I really need to tinker with. Other than that, oh, and obviously these cut to size once I'm happy with everything. But 12 k's in, top of the first hill, Christmas Eve, all's going well. Now comes the first descent. Oh, it's got 42mm wheels on it too, which are nice and fast for the riding that I do. So we'll go through a full top to bottom of this bike, but first I want to get out and ride the thing. Let's go.
Give it all to me, give it all to me. Explode me, explode me. Give it all to me, give it all to me. Give it all to me, give it all to me. Give it all to me. Let me give it all to me. You make me feel like I've got dynamite inside. You make me feel so free.
So 49.2 kilometers on the bike for the very first ride. I thought I'd stop and have a chat before we sit down and go through the full specs of the bike and why I've chosen what I've chosen, just to talk about the ride feel and my first impressions of the bike. Well, first up, the guys at the bike store nailed the back end. Seat height, fore and aft, everything is perfect from here on. The cranks are 172.5s, Shimano cranks. I'm familiar with those. I'm familiar with the pedals. This is my Stealth Pro saddle from the other bike that I had. So everything this end is absolutely spot on. Now what I have chosen to do is go down a frame size from medium large down to medium. Now this is an effective top tube length of about 55, I think, which is more my size, or more what I was used to with the S-Works Tarmac that I had. So what that means is it's a lot shorter through here. The other giant that I had, the medium large TCR, it was massive. It was like it was really upright. So with this is pretty much between the other bike that I had up here and the S-Works race bike which I have, which is down here. So this is a little bit of a balance, more towards the racing side of things though. So I'm more familiar with this than my other one, which was upright, which I was never really comfortable with. Now as such, going from a larger frame to a smaller frame and also dropping this down a little bit, it does put me a little more forward on the bike and a little more pressure on my hands. So I'm gonna really have to dial in this area here because I'm sort of more forward and it's a little rougher. There's not as much carbon in this frame to soak up all those road bumps, and I've chosen to go with the stock wheels that come with this as well. So I'm running the giant wheels. Again, we'll go head to toe with this bike later on today, but I've chosen to stick with these wheels. These tyres, they are tubeless, so I'm gonna have to be aware of that. It's a little rougher ride, but as I expected, I wanted this setup to be more of a race bike, more of an aero bike, back away from the relaxation bike that I've had for the last couple of years, which, as you know, I wasn't really that happy with it. But from the get-go, given that the back end was absolutely spot on, the front end was very similar to that of the S-Works that I had. I'd call it a happy medium between the two. Cornering was no problems at all. This thing rails through corners. I'm really not confident to gun corners just yet, given these are new wheels, new tyres, and it's a new frame. So how things handle, right on that knife edge of, are you going to go to hospital today or are you going to fly through the corner today? I'm not quite at the hospital minus a little bit part just yet, but the downhills, tucking in, on the tops, on the drops, everything was fine. No speed wobbles. TCRs back in the day had the speed wobble issue, but no problems at all. I was relaxed on the bike. So from here on, the changes that I will need to make though, because this is what I told the guys at the bike store, a blank canvas or a starting canvas, which kind of offended them because it's quite a nice bike. But I've got to customize everything. I've got to turn every screw. I've got to be across every little part. So it's my bike. It's not a trophy. It's not a showpiece. It's a tool for what I do. So look, if it gets a scratch, if it gets a bump, I don't care. It just needs to be comfortable and work and be the tool that I need for the job. So the updates that I'll do so far after the first ride, I'll be looking at the Bluetooth/Ant Plus module so I can talk to the Di2 components and play around with synchro shifting and firmware updates and learn all about that. That's all brand new to me. I'll be getting possibly a sprint shifter just for the hell of it. So sprint shifter changing with thumbs. The climbing shifter, most definitely. I'd love a climbing shifter up here because it still is a bit of a task. Yes, I know I'm out riding a bike trying to be fit, but it is a task to move your hands from here over here to change gears. The climbing shifters will sit just here, or as we saw on another bike, I think it was Yates's bike at the Giro or the Volta. Might have been the Volta. He had the climbing shifter around the front. So as you're riding along, you can just change gears like that on the back. Pretty cool. Synchro shift wasn't too bad, didn't confuse me too much, but I wasn't gassing it. I wasn't like absolutely on the rivet looking to choose the exact gear to be in. So it's kind of funny. It doesn't drop from the big gear down to the small. I'm gonna have to look into it. But I don't think it's going to catch me out if you ever like full on the gas and it's going to drop you off the big chainring. I think there's probably some safety precautions caught into there. At the moment, I'm running the Garmin head unit on the front with the Favero on the back. Just stock standard stuff. I've got another couple of mounts coming along so I can interchange between the Bolt, the Element, the 1030, the whatever else I need to run. And surprise, surprise, if you can see something here between my, not that between my legs, this between my legs. Are we done? Are we done? Jesus. I don't have any chips. As I was saying, between my legs there, the giant power meter, which nobody's seen, we've never seen a review of, we don't know what it's about. What it looks to be is a Pioneer power meter without the magnets required. Now I did notice some short, sharp sprints just weren't registering at all. I'm guessing that's because it doesn't have the magnets in place to know exactly where the pedal is. You've just got to wait for the accelerometers to kick in to get correct reading of that. But again, that's not what this today is about. I'm just out there just getting comfortable with the bike, making sure it is okay, and I'm happy with the purchase made yesterday. And yeah, but so far, so good. Di2, why did I wait so long? I don't know. Anyway, happy days. As I said, a bit of customization required at the front end. I am running 36 centimeter bars. I'm comfortable with those for now. I might go unbelievable. I might go 38s later on. Definitely not 40s though. 40s for me is just driving a bus. Most of my days were spent like this, getting as close and as aero as possible. 36 center to center have been fine for my other bike. So anyway, we'll leave it there for now. I'm off for home for lunch, and this afternoon we'll go through this bike top to bottom of all the specs once I figured them out myself. Okay, after a few more kilometers out on the bike, it's time to sit down and go through the full specs of this new bike and have a quick chat about what I've chosen to go with and why. Well, first up, why Giant? Well, first of all, it's a purchase that I've had to make myself. It's not a sponsorship or any sort of deal or arrangement that I have with Giant themselves. I've walked in as a consumer off the street and purchased this bike. And the reason why I went with this bike, because it was damn good value. And because it was my money. With recent issues with both YouTube and Peloton Interactive lawyers, money could be scarce in my pockets very shortly, so it had to be good value for money. And with that, the complete package was hard to beat. 2019 model carbon frame, disc brakes, thru axle, full Ultegra Di2 group set, which I should have gone to a long time ago, and the Giant Power Pro power meter, which was a bonus, which comes on the bike. So the package being, what are we looking at? We're looking at 6,299 for that as a complete package. That was pretty good value in my books. Another important factor for me was after-sales service and also supporting the local bike stores. So I purchased this here in Ballarat at Shaw's Cycling, and the team were fantastic. They opened their doors after hours during the busiest time of year, 2 days before Christmas. So I could bring my bike in, size everything all up. I had 3 people working on the bike to make sure it was all perfect for me to take out the door. So a huge thank you there. You can really only get that in person. So that was awesome, and more than happy to support local bike stores for that level of service. Next up, the sizing. As I've mentioned, I went to the medium from the medium large. You can see the chart here. I'm about 181 centimeters, so I'm just on the edge of making a medium work and going to a medium large. But for me, I'd rather a smaller frame with a longer stem, just gives a bit more twitchiness, a bit more stiffness in the bike. I have had that, as mentioned, with the Tarmac in the past. The medium large just felt like a bit of a boat. The weight of the bike, well, Giant don't publish the weights of the bike because some components can change, and there's always a plus or minus, but we did stick it on the scales with the Favero Assioma Duo pedals on it, and it weighed in at just a feather over 8 kilos. So taking those 300 gram pedals off, officially this bike would weigh in the size medium with all the configuration on there, 7.7 kilos. So it's no featherweight, but it's also no boat anchor. And where to save weight would probably be in the wheel set. Now, onto the cool nerdy stuff, the components on the bike itself. Well, Shimano Pro Stealth saddle, which was taken off my previous TCR, so I've stayed with that, so everything wasn't brand new for me during the festive 500. I've chosen to go with super narrow bars, 36 centimeters, so yes, some poor kid does miss out this Christmas, but it's for the best, and I may go to 38s, depending on how comfortable I am riding around and not racing in the 36s, but they're fine for me. No problems at all handling the bike with that. Gone with the 120mm stem, that seemed to get me set up just right for what I needed. Over to the group set, and things aren't as easy as they used to be in the past with Shimano group set and numbering. So I believe this is the Shimano Ultegra 8070 Di2 disc group set, which is a bit of a bastardry of numbers and serial numbers and things as things are changed around based on hydro and disc and group sets and cranksets and things. So what is stamped on the bike out of the factory, and again, this isn't put on the Giant website because again, they might change things out here and then based on the markets they're in or where they're sold. But what has come on this bike here in Australia in December 2018 was the R8050 front and rear derailleurs, R8070 brakes and levers, hydro discs there, the R8000 crankset with the Giant Power Pro power meter in it. It's a 5236 semi-compact, and 172.5mm came as standard on the medium, which was good. I was hoping it wasn't going to come with the shorter cranks, the 170s or 167.5s, but 172.5s, my size cranks for the road bike, happy days. Onto the power meter, and this is a bit of a mystery. We haven't seen these power meters out in any reviews. DC Rainmaker hasn't covered it. I haven't definitely seen one yet. There's no real good tech specs or reviews from Giant themselves. It's a bit of a mystery. I do know it's ANT+, it's dual-sided, you can update it over Bluetooth, but that's really all I know. The tech specs are a bit obscure over on the Giant website, discussing things like vibration and salt, ingress, and it's just a little bit weird. Stay tuned on this one. I'll be putting this power meter through its paces. I've already got the Assioma pedals on the bike itself, which have been proven to be pretty good, so I'll put those head to head. I'll put another video out on these once I can find a little bit more specification of this power meter. The cassette that comes on the bike is an 1130, so from a small cog up to almost a dinner plate on the back. There's a few gaps between the cogs with such a range on the cassette, so maybe I'll go to a 28 later on, but for the Adelaide Hills coming up in the semi-compact crank, that's going to be just perfect. Last year I made the mistake of taking a 3925 as the lowest gearing over in Adelaide, and if you know Adelaide and corkscrew, life wasn't very fun trying to get up there in just those gears. So onto the wheels. Well, I didn't pay too much attention to the wheels. They are 42mm carbon rims, centre-lock discs with thru axles. The tyres are Tubeless GAVIA 25s from Giant. I've got no idea what those tyres are. Leaving everything on for now as stock, just to bed everything in and get used to it. And they are the only disc set of road wheels that I have. So I'll be using those for now. I might look at upgrading to something like the Hunt wheels. They've been great on the other bike that I've had. But for now, stock standard wheels, they seem to roll okay. The frame clearance itself looks like I might be able to squeeze some 28mm road tyres on there. Look, it's something I'll need to follow up though if I look at putting some chubbier rubber on the bike in the near future. So there we are, finally new bike day, something I've been talking about for a long time. And they're the details of what I've chosen to go with and why. So we'll see how it goes over the next few months. I'm looking forward to producing a few videos on the bike itself, especially my take on discs, back to tubeless, that power meter, Di2, the upgrades and the integration. So heaps of fun coming up with the new bike. As I said, it's a blank canvas, allows me to have a bit more fun out in the road, gives me some motivations to clock up the Ks. Alrighty, it's Christmas Day. Time to get out of here. You better get out of here too. I'll see you soon.